Barakatuh. Welcome you all to tonight's sorrowful class of the Madrasatul Mumtiaz free Nahu and sorrowful online class. And tonight, inshallah, we are going on to the next topic, which is the bina'u of fa'lala and its mazid. The bina'u of fa'lala and its mazid. So fa'lala is a wazno under the ruba'i, and it is called ruba'i mujarrad because it is the only wazno under ruba'i that is not derived um, from a sulafi wazno. So it is purely in its basis. It is on the basics of the basic letters are it has four basic letters. So we are going to be treating its mazid. That is the mazid from khumasi and sudasi that come from the root of fa'lala. So the first wazn that we have here is fa'lala itself. Fa'lala yufa'ilu fa'lalatan wa fi'lalan. So it has two masdar, which is two masdars which are fa'lalatan and fi'lalan. Mawzunuhu, its waznu is what? Dahroja yudahriju dahrojatan wa dihrojan. So dahroja means to roll, he rolled. Yudahriju is rolling. Dahrojatan, to roll something. Wa dihrojan, same thing as dahrojatan. Wa alamatu, how do we recognize it? An yakuna madihi ala arba'ati ahruf, and that we recognize it because that ismadi, it has what? Ismadi has four letters, and that's why it is a rubai, because the madi, in madi state, it has four letters. Bi an yakuna jami'a hurufihi asliyatan, and all those four letters, all of those letters are what? They are asli. They are in its natural form, so they are not a mazid, they are not an addition. Rather, they are part of the waznu naturally, like we explained earlier, that this waznu is not derived from any sulafi waznu. Wabinauhu lita'diyati goliban, and its usage is constructive usages for what is for ta'diya, which is transitiveness, when there is a maf'ulun bi. Lita'diyati goliban. So in the most cases, in a great number of cases, in almost all cases, when you say fa'alala, it will be acting in the state of to be acting as muta'addi. However, sometimes qad yakunu laziman, sometimes it can actually work as lazim. So that is how fa'alala works. So an example, mithalul muta'addi nahu dahraja zaidun al hajaro. Dahraja zaidun al hajaro. Zaid rolled the rock. So we can see that there is a maf'ulun bi, there is an object. So that makes it muta'addi. So that's how fa'alala working as a muta'addi. Wa mithalul lazim nahu. However, an example of a lazim is what? Daruba zaidun. Daruba zaidun. So when they say daruba, it means somebody bows with both his head and his back. So that is daruba zaidun. That's Zaid or Zaid bowed. So that is an example of lazim for fa'alala, the fa'alala shape. However, apart from, like we said, in the rubai form, the only rubai mujarrad that we have is fa'alala. However, we have some other wazn. They are not part of the normal awzan that we know, and there are 6 of them. Wasitatu minha lil mulhaq. So they are called what? They are called mulhaq, and they are also called what? Al mulhaqu bi rubai. Al mulhaqu bi rubai. So all of these mulhaq will not be spending a lot of time on them because they are quite rare and we won't come across them often in our work. So we'll just briefly brush through these 6 awzan, and one of them is fa'ala, and we have fa'ala, we have fa'wala, we have fa'yala, we have fa'lala, we have fa'ala. So those are the 6 the six mulhaqat. However, we will not be spending our time on them again, like I said. So so we'll be going straight to our mazid, and that's mazid on fa'alala. And what are mazid on fa'alala? وثلاث منها لما زاد على رباعي المجرد وهو على نوعين. And we have said that what we have 3 awzan that are mazid on the ruba'i mujarrad, so that we add additional letters to that natural shape of the ruba'i mujarrad. And they said they are of 2 types. النوع الأول وهو مزيد فيه حرف واحد على رباعي المجرد, and that is the first type is the one that has 1 additional letter. So when we add 1 additional harf to a ruba'i, it becomes a khumasi. وهو باب واحد, and we have only 1 shape under this type, and that is what tafa'alala. Tafa'alala yatafa'alalu tafa'alulan. So this is one of the khumasi ta'ijun. That is the khumasi awzan that starts with a ta. Mawzunuhu tadahroja yatadahroju tadahrujan. So this tadahroja, obviously you can see that we just added a ta to the dahroja shape, and it becomes a khumasi and becomes tadahroja. Wa alamatuhu an yakuna madihi ala khamsati ahrufin bi ziyadati ta'i fi awwalihi. And we recognize it because what it's madi has 5 letters, and it becomes 5 letters by joining a ta at the beginning. Wa bina'uhu lil mutawwa'a, and its bina'u is constructive usage, so what is for mutawwa'a, compliance. And we have explained mutawwa'a to us over and over again how mutawwa'a works. And like we said mutawwa'a comes from the ruba'i. Mutawwa'a comes from what? It comes from the ruba'iyun. So we already mutawwa'a comes from a muta'addi verb. Mutawwa'a comes from a muta'addi verb. And since so tafa'alala comes from fa'alala, like we said, fa'alala is what is muta'addi ghaliban, like we explained earlier, that fa'alala is in most cases it works as a muta'addi. So once we add a ta to it and it becomes a khumasi, it now starts acting as a mutawwa'a to that waznu of fa'alala, to that muta'addi coming from fa'alala. So from dahroja, then we can say tadahroja. So dahroja means he rolled something which is transitive. However, tadahroja, it means that what he rolled himself. So and we are giving an example. Dahrojtul hajaro fatadahroja dhalika al-hajar. So I rolled the stone, then the stone rolled itself. Then that stone rolled itself. So that is how tafa'alala shape can work as a mutawwa'a. So the remaining 2, the other type of mazidu of ruba'i mujarrad is what the sudasi, which has 2 harfan. وهو مزيد فيه حرفان على رباعي المجرد وهو بابان. And we have 2 shapes under that, 2 was no under that. And the first one is if'an lala yaf'an lilu if'in lalan. And an example, the mawzunuhu ihranjama yahranjimu ihrinjaman. وعلامته أن يكون ماضيه على 6 أحرف بزيادة الهمزة. And its sign, how we recognize it, is that what the madi has 6 letters. بزيادة الهمزة في أوله, it has hamza at the beginning. والنون بين العين واللام الأولى. So we can remember that our fa'alala shape has what? It has 2 lams. So we are told that there is a nun between the ain and the first lam. So if lala, from fa'alala, we just put a nun after the ain and before the first of the 2 lams, and then we put a hamza at the beginning, and we have our if'an lala shape. وَبِنَاؤُهُ لِلْمُطَوَّعَةِ أَيْضًا, and its usage is also for what? Is also for mutawwa'a. So just so it's also a mutawwa'a that is what that is coming from the muta'addi of fa'alala. For example, like we have here, we have what? Ihron jama. And ihron jama comes from what? It comes from haru jama. It comes from haru jama. So haru jama is the rubai, which is what? Fa'alala. Haru jama. So wa nahwu harjamtul ibili. Haru jama means he gathered. So he gathered something. It is muta'addi. So it is transitive. Harujama, he gathered something. So harujamtul ibila, I gathered the camels. Fahronjama dhalika ibilu, and that camel, what? That camel came around. That camel gathered. It came around. So that is ihronjama. So it works as a mutawwa'. And the final shape, inshallah, that we'll be looking at tonight is if'alalla. And if'alalla yaf'alillu if'ilalan. And we have an example here, mawzunuhu yaksha'arru yaksha'irru yaksha'irrun yaksha'irrun wa alamatuhu an yakuna madihi ala sittati ahrufin. And in the madi we have what? 6 ahruf, like we said, it is a sudasi biziyadati al-hamzati fi awwalihi, and we have hamza at the beginning, and we have what? We have an hamza at the beginning. Wa harfin akhar min jinsi lamihi thaniyati fi akhirihi, and we have another letter that comes from what? That comes from that is the same shape of the lam. That means we just give the last lam a shadda. Whatever letter is in the last lam, it has what? It has shadda. It's going to take shadda. وَبِنَاؤُهُ لِمُبَالَغَةِ اللَّازِمِ. And the bina'u, how it works is for what? It works for mubalagati lazim. And we have explained mubalagatu lazim earlier, that what? That it is an extreme lazim, an intense lazim. لأنه يقال قشعر جلد الرجل. Qash'ara means that what? It's shook. Qash'ara jildu rajuli idan tashara sha'aru jildihi fil jumla. So when a person is shaking or is in fear, so you know the hairs of the person is standing. So when the hairs of the person stand all at once, we say that person's skin is doing what? Is doing qash'ara. وَيُقَالُ إِكْشَعَرُّ جِلْدُ الرَّجُلِ. So this one is now what? Intense. So when the person's skin is shaking intensely. And tashara sha'aru jildihi mubalaghatan. When the person's the hair of the person's skin is what? Is standing is aroused very, very what? Very, very intensely. So that is iksha'aru. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used this in the Quran when he said that what? That مثانية منه جلود الذين يخشون ربهم الله نزل أحسن الحديث كتابا متشابها مثانية تقشعر منه جلود الذين يخشون ربهم. That those that fear their Lord, their skins تقشعر, out of the fear of when they hear the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So so it means something should shake vigorously. And when it is used in this context of jild, it means when the person is in fear and the person's hair stands up. So that is those are the bina'u of the mazid of fa'alala. So we've talked about fa'alala, and it is used for ta'diyatu ghaliban. And the mazid, that's the mazid be harfin with one harf, is what's fa'alala, and it works as a mutawwa'a. Then we have 2 examples under the mazid to be harfain, and the first one is what? If'an lala, and that also works as a mutawwa'a. And we have if'alalla, which works as a mubalaghatul lazim. So that is that for fa'alala and its mazid. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us understand it better than I have explained it, and make it easy for us and makes it a beneficial knowledge for us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.